Hey, hello everybody! It's Biology from the Bedroom with me, Benito Wainwright. And goodness me, things are really hotting up. And no, I'm not just talking about the weather. Today, my guest is Mr. Sam England, a sensory ecologist completing his PhD at the University of Bristol. Unusually, Sam's first degree was an M.Phys in physics from the University of Exeter. However, his passion for understanding the natural world encouraged him to apply this knowledge to the sensory capabilities of insects. In particular, he's interested in how aerial electrical fields are used by a group of small, fascinating bugs called treehoppers. His work involves controlled laboratory experiments, but his research has also led him to discovering a brand new species of treehopper, previously unknown to science. Now, call me Phil Oakey, but this just sounds like a story Sam has made up in his electric dreams. So I reckon he's got a bit of explaining to do. So, without further ado, let's beam potential science leader of the future, Sam England, into my bedroom. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
How are we doing? I mean, the whole country is saying that England is in lockdown, so I imagine it must be quite especially difficult for you, I suppose.
You know, you're the first person to ever make that joke.
Really? Oh, goodness me. But if you were to summarise this whole lockdown situation that we're experiencing in one word, what would that word be, Sam?
Ooh, well, obviously I've watched the other podcast episodes. I would want some kind of unprecedented reply to this question. I think I'd have to go with unprecedented, Benito.
Unprecedented, yeah, that's a good one, actually. Yeah, very articulate, Sam.
Thanks.
Anyway, so you started your academic career in physics, of course.
Yes.
Now, that may seem a little bit unusual to a biologist, so why did you take that route originally?
I used to be very, very interested in space. I kind of was obsessed with this idea of being an astronaut, as kind of ridiculous as that sounds.
Right.
But over time, I kind of realised that kind of the reason I was so fascinated by space was actually the biological context of space. You know, as in kind of life on Earth is a really cool example of what can happen in space. So I became really interested in a field called astrobiology, which is kind of all about that, you know, the biological world in the context of space. But there's not much funding for that kind of research. So I was like, well, I wonder what else a physicist can do in biology. And sensory ecology is another pretty good way for a physicist to slot in, because obviously being able to understand the stimulus that you're working with, which is normally some kind of physical stimulus.
Yes, you make it the transition seem so obvious. No, Sam.
Yeah, just about.
Don't want to go into astrobiology? You go to leafhoppers. Of course you do. Yes,
perfect. Yeah.
So, to the layman, then, how would you explain what the field of electrical ecology is? Because that is what you do, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah. So I'm specifically interested in aerial electroreception, which is detecting electric fields in the air. Electroreception has been known for ages in the aquatic environment, and it's pretty well known in a lot of different types of fish, amphibians, even things like the platypus. But back in 2013, in Bristol, actually, it was shown that bumblebees can detect the electric field around flowers.
Interesting. It's kind of ironic, isn't it, that the study of electricity and water is no longer current research. Anyway, the only problem I always find, if you study, if you do experiments on electric eels, they always lead to shock results. Anyway, enough of that. So the study organisms which you're currently working on, Sam, are these curious little creatures called treehoppers. Could you possibly explain what a treehopper is and why they are potentially significant as models of electroreception?
They're this group of true bugs that are basically famous for having a ridiculous amount of morphological diversity. They have these crazy structures on their head. And there's a lot of ideas that have been floated around over the last kind of 100, 200 years where kind of Europeans have known about them as to what the function of this structure would be. But there's been very little empirical investigation of exactly what that would be. In some of them, it really looks like they could be for camouflage or for mimicry, but there are some of them where, at least when we look at them, we really cannot conceive of a reasonable explanation. But one unifying possible function for this pronotum in the treehoppers could be as a sensory function.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, and they are crazily diverse, aren't they? If you do Google them, you get faced with a selection of creatures which look like they've just gone to a fancy dress party or something like that, don't they? They really are incredibly diverse.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at these for like a year and a half, and I will still see a species that I've never seen before every now and again. I spend a bit of time on iNaturalist doing some IDs for people, and I'll see stuff that I've literally never seen before. So yeah, pretty spectacular creatures, I'd say.
Yeah, treehopper procrastination is all too tempting, isn't it, these days? All too tempting.
I can classify that as work, right? I'm just about.
Possibly one of the more exciting pieces of news from your research so far is that you've actually discovered a brand new species of treehopper. Is that right? Do you want to tell us the story about how that came to be?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if it's that scientifically exciting. I mean, there's many species of insect in the world that we probably haven't found yet. But personally, I find it very exciting. But yeah, so I was just on field work in Costa Rica, which is kind of one of the best places to find these treehoppers, as you said. And I happened to spot this kind of strange silhouette under a leaf. Now, problem was it was hanging off the edge of a bridge. So my girlfriend, who was out visiting me at the time, basically hung on to the back of my T-shirt and dangled me out over this bridge. And I was looking at this treehopper, and I wanted to watch it for a bit to see whether it was. I really couldn't tell. And yeah, ended up taking it home, checking it against some keys, and yeah, it turned out to be a new species.
Wow, what a story that is. I mean, well done on finding a new species, but I think we've all just shown that you are clinically insane, Sam. Anyway, so then what did you end up calling it?
So I wanted to name it after this guy called Reginald Cocroft, who is a scientist who's been really useful for me in my academic career, because he's one of the only people that's done extensive studies on the behaviour of these treehoppers. People are very interested in them in terms of taxonomy, like describing new species and stuff like that, but people haven't really paid much attention to their actual kind of natural history and how they react to certain situations, such as predators approaching them. So basically, his papers have been an invaluable resource to me. So I wanted to name it after him. Now, conveniently, he goes by the name Rex, not Reginald. So I was also able to kind of sneak in a little bit of a funny name in that, because the genus is Cladonota, it's Cladonota rex, but when you say it in short, it's C. rex, which I think is a little bit chuckle-worthy, at least, especially because it's in the shape of a C as well. Personally, I was pretty chuffed with that, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, we'll just leave you to be chuffed with that, Sam. So how is all of this, which is going on in the world, affecting the way you progress in your research then? Because it sounds to me that you're very much a field and a lab-based person. So is this really messing things up?
It was pretty terrible timing, to be honest, because as you say, I'm in the lab, which is closed, or I'm in the field, which I guess is also technically closed.
Yeah.
I don't think the police would look very kindly on me, sitting in the park measuring electric fields around insects. I'm not sure that they would.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of an awkward conversation, wouldn't it? It'd be quite a tense conversation, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm not sure that falls under like vital work, to be honest. Yeah. So I am kind of trapped inside at the moment. But trying to make the most of it, doing a bit of writing. Annoyingly, I had just got back from Costa Rica at the end of December, and then I spent all of January and February pretty much analysing the data I got from that, so that I would be ready to do more field stuff now.
Right.
So I pretty much finished all of my data analysis the week before we started working from home.
Yeah, goodness me.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit bitter about that, but yeah, getting over it.
Also on Biology from the Bedroom, we want to highlight that, researchers aren't perfect, and there are a number of occasions where we're made to look like total idiots. Is this something which you can relate to, Sam? Has there been any occasions where things haven't quite gone to plan in your research?
Actually, related to discovering this new species, I went back 6 months later to try and find more of them. Basically, we haven't found a male, we've only found a female, so we wanted to try and find the male so we could describe that as well.
Yes.
So I went all the way back to Costa Rica to try and find some. It's a long flight, lots of miserable, hot, sweaty taxis, trekking through the rainforest. And I go back to where I found the original C. rex, and they've chopped the whole tree down.
Oh no.
Now the issue is tree hoppers are very host plant specific. They will pretty much only live on one species of plant. So if that tree is gone, the next place that we're going to find them can be several hundred meters away in the rainforest. And also somewhere that I don't know where it is. So we still haven't found another one. And I must admit, that was quite sad, just walking up to that bridge and just seeing a little stump left at the bottom of it.
Goodness me, well, it's a shame that the tree hopper didn't detect the electric fields emanating from the chainsaw, hey?
Yeah, that's my whole research falling apart really there, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, never mind. Let's just brush over that. But anyway... also, on Biology from the Bedroom, we want to put our guests through their paces, Sam, if that's all right. We are on a mission to find this country's most promising young research biologist. And in order to do that, you've got to go through the Cryptic Question Clock Quiz!
Oh, cryptic question, where's it gonna be, where's it gonna be? Cryptic question, where's it gonna be, where's it gonna be? Cryptic question, where's it gonna be, where's it gonna be?
I think I have to preface this and my coming performance with the fact that my highest qualification in biology is a GCSE. So,
right. Wow.
So we'll see how this goes.
This is a section of the show where we get our guest to answer as many questions on biology in 60 seconds as they possibly can. But there is an added twist, and that is, of course, the cryptic question.
Oh, cryptic question, where's it gonna be, where's it gonna be? Cryptic question,
where's it gonna be, where's it gonna be?
Yeah, one of the answers to the questions I'm about to ask is also an answer to a question in a non-biological related area. And this week, that area is religion. Okay. Now, as you've just clearly stated, you're not a biologist by training, so never fear. Because intertwined with the biology questions, I've included some physics questions as well. What fun.
I think that could be even worse. Now I don't have an excuse.
Your time starts now. Stereotypically, what noise does a mouse make?
Squeak?
Lizards, famed for their long tongues, flexible tails, and ability to change colour, are known as what kind
Chameleon.
of animal? Correct. The resistance of one object moving relative to another is referred to as what?
The resistance? Friction?
Correct. Which 19th century monk has been labelled as the father of modern genetics?
Ooh, Mendel?
Correct. Whose law states the pressure of a given mass of an ideal gas is inversely proportional to its volume at a constant temperature?
Oh, Pascal? No.
Incorrect. Name 3 types of animal belonging to the mammalian order Carnivora.
Cat, dog, bear.
In quantum physics, what does the letter H stand for?
Planck constant?
Correct. What is the branch of zoology that deals with fish called?
Ooh, ichthyology?
Correct. That is the end, I'm afraid. At the end of that quiz, you've got a whopping 7 points, which means you're currently the leader of the Cryptic Question Clock Quiz. Congratulations!
Oh, yes. Thanks very much.
Very good. Of course, you weren't able to deduce the cryptic question. The second question I asked you, Sam, was what lizards are famed for their long tongues, flexible tails, and the ability to change colour? And you said...
Chameleon.
Chameleon. Now, chameleons were mentioned, of course, in chapter 11, verse 30 of the book of Leviticus, the third book of the Torah of the Old Testament. And I've even got a quote for you, Sam. Chameleons, these animals are unclean for you among all the crawling creatures. Whoever touches them when they are dead shall be unclean until evening.
Yeah, I've really let myself down there. I do have a GCSE in religious studies too. So
did you? Goodness me.
I should have been on that one.
What did you get?
Oh.
Okay, don't trouble yourself. We're not that interested, Sam. The quiz doesn't end there. You see.
Uh-oh.
You see, before we all went into lockdown, I snuck in to the Life Sciences Department in Bristol, so I managed to steal a plague of locusts. So, Sam, just by listening to these audio clips, can you spot the cricket, please?
Sound A. Sound B. Sound C. Sound D.
Down the wicket. Oh, he's bowled him. Well.
Can you please give me your answer?
D is obviously cricket, but I don't know if you would call it the cricket. A sounds like a cicada or something like that to me.
Right, come on, Sam. No need to think that much into it.
Or something like that. Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna go for B, but on the understanding that I know you've almost definitely cruelly tricked me.
Okay, B is your final answer.
Yes.
Right. I can tell you that you are, unfortunately, incorrect. The correct answer was indeed D.
Down the wicket. Oh, he's bowled him.
Never mind.
I hope you're proud of yourself.
Never mind. Yes, extremely proud of myself. Thank you, Sam, for totally ruining that. But anyway, we're coming up to the end of the show. And I think it's about time we spoke about your other interests, of course, Sam.
Sure.
And you actually have quite an eclectic range of interests. And it ranges from music making to kickboxing, doesn't it? So do you want to just tell us about what an interesting person you are?
Sure. So, I mean, to be honest, you have...
But anyway, that comes to the end of Biology from the Bedrooms. But also, we've also got a little song for you, Sam, to commemorate the demise of C. Rex after its tree got chopped down.
R.I.P. C. Rex.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance.
Thank you very much, Sam, for joining us, and best of luck with the rest of your research.
No, thank you very much for having me, Benito.
Join me next time as we get even closer to finding Britain's most talented research biologist. If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe for more exclusive wildlife and science-related content. But for now, if you don't mind, I've got to feed my pet treehopper, Cardinata stegosaurus. See you next time, everybody!